Hi, this is Leslie Vernick, and I'm a Christian counselor, coach, and the author of the book, The Emotionally Destructive Relationship and the Emotionally Destructive Marriage. You know, a client of mine, Debbie, burst into tears in my office when I asked her, "How can I help you?" She sobbed. She said, "I feel like such a failure. My marriage is falling apart. I've tried everything I know what to do on how to connect with my husband, and he won't respond. When I try to talk with him, he tells me my expectations are too high. He puts me down continuously, even in front of our children. As long as I keep the house, cook the meals, have sex with him whenever he wants, he thinks everything's fine, but it's not fine for me. What do I do?" What would you tell her? Oftentimes our first response to these kind of clients' questions is usually the wrong one. We begin to search for ways to see what else she could do to get her husband to engage, to make her marriage better. We tell her, try harder to make your marriage your number one priority. Give up the other things that are distracting you. We encourage her to be more respectful, or more loving, more forgiving, more patient, and more sexually available. Our aim is to help her win her husband's love without a word, through her godly and loving actions. And in certain situations where a wife admits to being neglectful, this might be good counsel. But when there has been chronic and serious indifference and sin toward her, this approach will only make the underlying problem worse. Any wife in this kind of marriage would feel disappointed, hurt, and angry. Rightly so. But when she becomes increasingly despairing, despondent, fearful, controlling, or resentful, it's time to help her pay attention, because these negative emotions are a good indicator that her desire for a good marriage has become too important. It's become an idol. You see, whenever we're dependent on something or someone other than God to fill us or fulfill us, it always hurts us. But women have been groomed from childhood to put marriage first, to have a great marriage their deepest desire. But that's not biblical. God wants our first love to be Him, and our primary purpose to get to know and glorify Him. Jesus commands us to love God with everything we have, not only because God deserves our love and is worthy of it, but because He knows how crucial it is to our own long-term well-being, because He knows that whatever we love the most will rule our lives. And that's why the Bible counsels us to let the life of Christ control us, not the love of lesser things. And so desiring a good marriage is not wrong, it's fine. But the problem comes when we place having a great marriage above all else. And so as counselors, this woman's dilemma provides a wonderful opportunity for us to help her put her marriage in its proper place. As we help her center herself in God's love and not her husband's, she's no longer debilitated when her spouse fails her or disappoints her. Yes, she still hurts, but now she's centered and controlled by something other than her marriage or her man. She now begins to have the inner strength and courage to both forgive her spouse for his sinful failings, as well as set appropriate boundaries and consequences when he continues to be self-centered, unrepentant, and destructive to their marriage and to her. With God as her first love, she can be compassionate and loving toward her husband without being foolish and enabling, because God shows her how to love him in a way that's in His best interests. In doing so, she learns to trust God with the outcome of her marriage. So instead of asking her to try harder to cater more to her husband's felt needs, which only reinforces his own entitlement and selfish orientation toward life, let's help her do something radically different. Let's help her become a God-centered woman rather than a husband-centered woman. Let's help her build up her core strength so that she can speak the truth in love to her husband, as well as implement consequences for his destructive behaviors. Now, she'll be too afraid to make that change unless she comes to a place where she can trust God to be enough for her. And so we have the opportunity to help her settle this question deep in her heart, because until she does, she'll be unable to make the change that she needs to make. And once she starts to do things differently, the destructive marital boat she's on will start to rock. And there are no guarantees it'll right itself, but I do know one thing for sure. When a marriage has been in a downward spiral of indifference, repetitive sin, and destruction, and everything she's tried up to now has not resulted in any lasting positive change, it's time for her to change her strategy. There are times that she must risk unraveling the life she has to find the life that God wants for her. I would love to hear your comments about putting your marriage in its proper place in the box below, and also how I can help equip you be a more competent and confident counselor. God bless.